All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Adam Berezin from MSDW, and I'd like to welcome you all to today's session, Dynamics 365 F&O Document Viewing Made Easy with Autoform DM, presented by ERP Mechanics and Formpipe. So before we get started, I just want to mention a couple of things. If you have any questions during this session, please feel free to type them into the chat, and our presenters will get back to you via email after the session ends. We're also recording the session, and the video should be up on MSDW most likely within the next day or so. So without further delay, let's get the session started.
Brilliant. Thanks, Adam. So yeah, hi. Thanks for joining us today as we explore the important topic of storing and viewing business documents from within Dynamics 365 F&O. So first of all, introduce myself. I'm Dean Palmer, UK Business Director at ERP Mechanics. I've worked within the document management space for my whole career, particularly focused on Formpipe products like LaserNet and Autoform DM. And I actually spent a significant chunk of my career at Formpipe too. So I'm joined by some of my ex-colleagues today, Stuart, Norman and Nathan Gould, who are going to explore this topic with me. So first of all, who are ERP Mechanics? Well, we started out in 2017 as a small group of Dynamics specialists based in Lithuania. But from then on, we've grown in size dramatically, and we've now got offices all around the globe, with our most recent expansion being in the USA and the UK. We've been partnered with Formpipe for many years now, and we continue to strengthen that relationship week by week. We're a full-service partner for LaserNet and for Autoform DM, providing consultancy, development, project management, and support services to our end clients. And a common question that comes up during our projects is how to easily archive and view documents directly through the Dynamics interface. And that's why I've invited my Formpipe colleagues on today to tell us a little bit about one of their other products, Autoform DM, and how it integrates with your Dynamics F&O environment to make document viewing and archiving as simple as possible. So Stuart, can you tell us a little bit about Autoform DM?
Sure, Dean. Yeah. So as you say, I'll just give a quick introduction to DM, and at its core, it's a flexible and powerful digital archive. And the archive is capable of storing any types of file along with key metadata for indexing. We usually refer to these as documents, and that often is the case. But that doesn't mean that it's restricted to statements, invoices, letters. Really, the product allows any file type to be stored that needs to be archived, long term. And we focus on speed and simplicity, not just in the use of the application itself, but also its development and configuration. Many of our competitors require months of consultancy to analyze and configure the solution. But with DM, we're proud to say that that's achievable in a matter of days. And it forms part of an integrated solution. We've been working closely with the LaserNet team for the past 20 years to ensure that we're offering a complete solution rather than just a standalone archive. I'm going to dive a bit more into some of the features and functionalities within the product a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to pass over to Nathan so that we can see the product in action.
Thanks very much, Stu. So what I want to go through today is really sort of encapsulated in this one slide. What we've been realizing in the decades that we've been working with ERP projects is that even though we are focused on Dynamics, modern businesses operate in a much wider sort of IT landscape. So there's normally external software that might archive stuff into a SQL database, a legacy system that might be sending stuff just to a folder location. And then in Dynamics, we might have documents from CE in SharePoint, documents from FO in Azure Blob Storage somewhere. Now, viewed independently, all of those solutions work perfectly fine. But when you try and take a holistic view of your entire business, you start to realize that they're in sort of siloed different locations, and it's very difficult to get one version of the truth. What DM does is it makes sure that we're able to connect all of those different things to one archive, one version of the truth, so that when your customers, your partners, your end users are dealing with your software, working with your business, they've always got access to the same information. There's no confusion there. On top of that, if you have lots of systems with lots of archiving, you've just got lots of management to do. So for example, recently, Microsoft made some honestly welcome changes to the security around blob storage in finance and operations. But you can't ignore the fact that that has changed the way that we as users and as ISVs have to interact with the software. there is some overhead in managing that. And it's the same for lots of other systems as well. There's licensing, there's support, there's users and security to manage. With DM, as your one main archive for your business, there is only one thing to manage. So it just reduces the overhead that we've got there. So that being said, what is it I actually want to show today? Now I'm going to look at 4 key things. First thing we're going to do is we're just going to click the buttons in finance and operations and see how this would work for an end user. Then we're going to have a little bit of a look under the hood, see what's happening in the background, go into DM and show some of the key concepts and some of the setup that's available in there, and then move back into finance and operations and show how we reference that stuff from DM in FO, how we set up our searches and security around it. Then we'll go and look outside of our sort of Dynamics ecosystem at some of those other things that we were talking about and how we can access the data in DM from a web front end by using a really simple integration. It's really important to mention that all of this is managed through configuration and not code. I've not written a single line of code to set any of this up. It's all just clicking through the buttons and configuring stuff following the guides. So that means that DM is not a massively technical undertaking. You don't need to have lots of developers to manage this. Your competent functional consultants can manage this for you. So with that being said, let's go into our finance and operations instance here. And we're going to have a look at how DM would actually be used by the users. Now, I've set up some DM searches on our customer table here under accounts receivable, all customers. And there's 2 of these that I want to look at. That's our inspection document search and our inspection document upload. To begin with, we're going to click on the search. And in here, what we can see is we've pulled through the context of the record we've made the search from. So our finance and operations record. And we're searching against a particular document type for all of the documents that have got that key attached to them. And then we can scroll down and we can see we've got a preview of that document here. So this is a work order inspection that we've run through field service. So really simple, really easy for the user to work with. On top of that, we can also upload information from finance and operations directly to DM. So if I click on this inspection documents upload button, again, super simple interface for the users to work with. I can click on browse and I can select a PDF from or an image or any file that we've got that we want to upload, which is linked to this record. Again, we've pulled through the context of the record that I selected, and I can add in some extra information here as well. Now, as soon as I click OK, that's being uploaded directly into DM. And then now any system where DM is connected to will be able to see that information. So if we just go back into our search here, now we're going to see 2 documents, the original one that we saw before and the new one that we've just uploaded. So hopefully you can see that from an end user perspective, this is a really useful, but also a really simple tool to work with. So that's the main buttons within finance and operations, but what's actually happening in the background. So if we come into Autoform DM here, what we're doing is in the background, we're looking at a thing called an application, which is like a search. That's our term for search. The application references a couple of important bits of setup in DM. The first one is our document definition. The document definition is just a type of document. So here's our work order inspection document type. And against that type of document, we've got some information called keys, which is how we archive it correctly and how we search for it. So against each of these document types, these are what I'm going to save against it, because these are also what I want to use to search to retrieve it. So in the search we just did, for example, we used our customer number. Also within DM, we've got some key functionality around actually managing the documents that we've got. For example, this document retention manager, that allows us on a document type basis, so a document definition, to define how long we keep it in the archive. So we can say keep them forever, keep them for a fixed period of time, or actually decide on a document by document basis. This is really useful for things like GDPR compliance and other industries as well. Within DM, we also have access to audit logs. So any changes that we make in here, any documents that are created, deleted, moved, we keep a total log of all of the changes that are made. So a really useful suite of functionality in here. So that being said, how do we reference this in FO to get that user experience that we saw at the start? So if I come back into finance and operations now, and I click on the list of modules, I'm going to go to the LaserNet module, and we've got a whole new section of our menu for Autoform DM. I'm going to click on New here, and I'm going to call this application Webinar, for example. And then I need to select a connection ID. And you can see in here, I've actually got more than one connection that I can choose, because we can connect finance and operations to multiple versions of DM. But it's this API demo that I want to connect to now. And that's the one that we've just seen the configuration for. So within there, we need to actually select the thing that we're searching for. So that's our work order inspection again. And that's most of the configuration that we need to do done in here. We have some configuration here to define what users are able to see this. So we can create user groups, or we can assign access to particular users. But I'm going to leave this viewable to everyone. And then all I need to do is click on Update here. What this does is it pulls through those keys that we saw in DM that are linked to the document type we're searching against, so that we can configure how we want them to be populated in finance and operations. So we've pulled through all this demo information from DM, but then how do we actually get it to do something in finance and operations? That's based on our form links here. So what the form links are doing is they're creating a new button for us in the finance and operations user interface that actually allows us to do our interaction. And again, this is really simple. There's no need to do any coding here, no complicated release process. All I need to do is know what form do I want to put the button on, and where on that form does it need to be. So I want to put this on our cust table form, and I'm going to put it right at the start, so before our new customer button. I can define a custom label here, and I'm going to say I just want this to be a single button. I'm not going to add a whole drop-down list here. Then my key mapping is how I'm going to search in DM from the form that I've added the button on. So I'm going to click on New, and the key that I want to search for is my customer number, and the value that I'm searching for from within finance and operations is going to be my account number. So the account number in FO matches the customer number in DM. So I need to go and say my account number, that's in my cost table as well, and the field name is account number. Click on Save. That is all the configuration we need to do to set up this interaction between DM and FO. So now if I go back into my accounts receivable, all customers, and we're going to see our new button here, Webinar. And you see we've selected our MXMP 0001 here. So when we select this, the search we're doing in DM against that key is based on this account number on the record we've selected. And here we can see, here's the record that we've selected, the account number. It's doing the search in Autoform DM and pulling through the two documents that we saw earlier. The original work order inspection, and also the one that we just uploaded. So that is how quick and easy it is to actually build these searches. But not only are they available from within finance and operations, but also you can build them pretty easily in any application that you're working with. For example, here, this is our search that I've created, just a really simple HTML page. I've made the API connection to our DM backend here, and I'm just going to do exactly the same search from this website as I did from within DM, as I did from within finance and operations. And we get the same information through. We get a preview of our document that we uploaded. So hopefully that's a really good example to you guys of how DM becomes our one version of the truth. So we've always got access to the information, regardless of where we are in our business system. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show in the demo today. So back over to Stu for a bit more.
Thanks, Nathan. Yeah, it's great to see the product in action there as always. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dig into some of the main kind of features and focuses of DM. It'll be pretty high level, but it'll give a good idea of a broad range of kind of functionality that we offer. So first up then, scalability and enterprise functionality has been a long-term focus for us. Therefore, the product includes clustering, which is focused on both high availability and load balancing. We also support indefinite keys to allow each implementation to grow with the customer. And all of that to deliver on this promise of a single central digital archive. And all of that with a simple deployment process that minimizes setup effort. Onto automation, and deployment of the application can now be fully automated through use of our silent installers. And alongside that, at runtime, our configuration management feature can be used to drive and push out change to different environments, speeding and simplifying like deployment of new functionality to live. And that can be driven from both the front end and also from the REST API. And all of this kind of allows us to focus on meeting business needs rather than administrative overhead. Onto cloud, and DM is already being used in the cloud right now as part of the complete Formpipe cloud solution. The design and direction for the product has been supporting this paradigm shift for quite some time now, and that will continue to be a prime direction for us going forward. User experience, and as you've just seen a little bit there from Nathan, even though much of our interaction is via integration, as we've also seen with the demo, we still provide a slick and simple user interface where needed. And over the years, we've ensured this provides a solid, direct solution with simple and fast searching, document import, alongside more advanced administrative features like key management, document editing, configuration management, etc. And then we have security, and we strongly emphasize a secure by default philosophy as part of our roadmap and planning. And this ensures that security is considered at all times throughout the software development lifecycle, as well as during deployment. And that includes easy TLS configuration, single sign-on, document access control, and a robust auditing system to back it all up. And on top of that, we've also been ISO 27001 compliant now for a number of years. Last but by no means least, we have integration. And the true versatility of the archive comes with this extensive REST API, which allows us, our partners, and our customers the power to create both out-of-the-box and bespoke integrations. And this keeps the core of the product simple and lightweight, providing so much additional kind of business value. The Dynamics integration you've just seen demonstrates the power here, allowing us to deliver powerful integrations like this with minimal fuss. Before I hand back over, I'd like to just include this slide here that just kind of demonstrates the global presence of DM right now. The product's already being used in 40 plus countries. That's both on-premise and in cloud. And as you would expect, this covers small, medium and large enterprises across multiple verticals that include finance, manufacturing, transportation, technology, retail, amongst many others. Back over to you, Dean.
Brilliant. Thank you guys for that overview and the demonstration. It's all very interesting. Now that we've seen how the product and the integration works, I think it would be interesting to talk about how we've seen customers use it over recent years. So Nathan, can you share any insights on how F&O customers are benefiting from their Autoform DM installations?
Yeah, of course. So recently we've had a customer that's been implementing Autoform DM, and the main benefits that they've found are some of the things I've touched on already. So the first thing is they had lots of sort of previous systems. They'd grown by acquisition, and there were lots of things they had to manage to get their archive documents all together. Pardon me. And to get their archive documents all together in one place. By bringing in DM, they got rid of that massive overhead, not just of time they had to sink into that, but money as well. So that's one of the sort of big benefits from that use case. But also they were a process manufacturing company, right? So they generated materials that got used in lots of different processes through their business, and they needed to keep track of that, not just for their own archiving, but also for their customers and end users. So what DM meant that they could do is make sure that regardless of where they were within their business, regardless of which one of the systems they were in, they could always get access to the appropriate information for the batch or for the product that they were working with. So that was a real benefit for them as well.
Awesome. Sounds like that customer is really making the most of having Autoform DM in their suite of products. Stuart, Nathan touched on it briefly there, and I've definitely come across it too. That worked with lots of organizations over the years that have got multiple archive systems, some legacy, some documents in folders or shared things around the business that they want to bring together. So can you talk us through how DM can help there?
Yeah, I mean, we get this request all the time from customers that have kind of organically grown without implementing a single archive strategy, which, as you would expect, results in siloed repositories with separate access, separate and systems, and no real kind of consolidation. And because of that, we offer a number of tools to import and consolidate that information from those separate archives into DM. And that brings, naturally the huge benefit of having all of your documents in a single place. And I think that really is the core benefit here. A single archive repository for integration, for management of retention and access, and that ease of integration into one place.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you. And once they've brought those documents together into that single place, like you say, I presume it's still pretty easy to view those documents easily, either via the web interface or the API that you mentioned previously.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've covered the two kind of main access methods there. I'd say that integration with our REST API from incumbent solutions is the primary use case, allowing that automatic searching based on the data that's available within that third party, and then quickly searching and jumping to that document embedded within the application within your current workflow. And I often hear just how simple it is to achieve that with our living Swagger documentation, which supports the REST API. Not only does it describe how each of the endpoints works, but it also allows you to see how to implement them and test it as you're building out that documentation, making it even simpler to implement. And then you have the web UI for more advanced users, which we saw a little bit of earlier, where the process is much more document focused, and it doesn't make sense to do all of that within the incumbent third-party solution. And they can jump across seamlessly to that full-blown kind of website and access the wider range of functionality, much of which we've shown and spoken about today.
Cool, brilliant. Thank you for that answer. Sounds like there's a lot of tools and methods to store and view your documents with DM. So thank you. Well, that about wraps things up on this exploration today into how Autoform DM can enhance your document archival and viewing experience within finance and operations. Thank you very much for watching. And if you'd like to know more about how your organization could benefit from what you've seen today, please reach out to us at info@erpmechanics.com. We'd love to talk to you.